What's up, fam? It is Terrific Tuesday, yo, and we are here for Quantum Inspirations. I've missed you so much. I was not here last week. I'm so sorry. I had some technical difficulties, and we're about ease and flow here. So it's like, you know what? I'm not going to stress about it. My audience is empathetic and gives me grace. So I took the week off last week, but I am so happy to be back. Sending some electricity, some love, some light. And we're going to talk about the big L word. Not love, although love is what makes the world go round. Leadership. We are talking about leadership tonight. How do we instill a bold sense of leadership in our kids and in ourselves? How does sports play a role in really fostering and supporting that leadership quality? And how does the traditional education system squash that shit? Now, my kids are in the traditional educational system. I'm not dogging it. All the teachers are amazing. We've had a hell of a year. But there are some fundamental qualities of traditional education that really do diminish our children's ability to step into leadership. But there's a way around that. You know what it is? Sports and being a kick-ass parent. So let's start out by talking about, first of all, I want to know in the comments, are you a leader? Tell me if you are a leader in the comments. I want to know. And I want to know what qualities that you possess that make you a leader. If you don't think you're a leader, tell me why you don't think you're a leader. Are your kids leaders? Do they have leadership qualities that they naturally possess? Because every kid is different. Some kids walk into life like knowing, they're like, damn, I'm a leader. I am a born leader. Other kids really need to be supported, and they really need those qualities to be fostered and, like bred within them, right? And so I want to tell you about me first. So as a kid, I was very insecure. I lived on Front Street, though. Nobody knew I was insecure, but I was really insecure. And let me tell you why. Because I was moved around from school to school. I think I went to 5 or 6 different schools by the time I was in 5th grade. Now, from 5th grade to 8th grade, I was in one school, and then I went to the same high school the entire time. But what happens is from the age of 0 to 7, this is when the subconscious mind is formed. So that age from 0 to 7 is like super uber foundational in a child's developing their personality, their sense of security, and all of this like imprinting the subconscious that is like, let's talk about it in terms of a computer, like the hardware, right? Like you get a computer and you've got that stuff running in the background that's always supporting. This is kind of likened to the subconscious mind formed in those early years. And so what happens when a child is kind of jostled around, things are not super secure, no one is really intentionally building them up, then they have a lot of insecurities in life. And that is absolutely where I was. So I was insecure. I was just an insecure kid. I did put on a front like I was secure, but I would tend to kind of sit back in the background. Now, I was good at a lot of things. I was a very smart kid. I was a good singer. I had some really strong leadership attributes, but I didn't try to stand out. I would just sit back and let others play that role. And this is what a lot of kids do. A lot of kids with natural leadership abilities tend to sit back and let others take over because this is what our traditional education system supports. Now, I know there are special programs. I know that there are teachers, there are coaches that are out there doing it differently. And I do not want to undermine that at all, because you are amazing, you are valued, you are kick ass, and I so appreciate you. I'm talking about in general, the education system. Okay. So what happens is your kids go to school, right? They're taught to sit at a desk all day long. Now they're taught to look at an iPad all day long, right? They are taught to only speak when their hand is up and they are called upon. When they are talking to a friend, engaging in friendly conversation and creating a bond with their friends, they are silenced. Now they're wearing masks, which means there is a disconnect with faces, right? Because there is a chemical reaction that actually occurs when you're looking at someone and you're seeing the movement in their face and you're interacting with their smile, right? So we can still see eyes, but there is a very huge psychological effect going on when we cannot see someone's face. There is a disconnect. There's already a disconnect at school, right? And so really, when you look at the structure of the educational system, it was formed during like the industrial age. And so it was during a time that there was a lot of factory working, right? And so what were they intentionally doing with the kids that are going to school? They're putting them in a position that kind of creates a little drone, right? It creates a little robot that is going to do as it is told, do it in a mainstream fashion, and memorize and regurgitate information. So you lose the creativity. Now, leadership in general is creative in nature. Okay. One of the greatest leadership qualities is being able to adapt and be creative, because how do you come up with solutions? You come up with solutions by being a creative person, right? You don't come up with solutions by memorizing what a book says, memorizing spellings, and then regurgitating this information. And so this is why I say that the traditional education system does not really foster leadership in kids. Now, there are those who shine, who have that natural leadership ability, who really step up and run with it, right? But most kids aren't like that. Most kids really have to be supported and loved in that way. And I was absolutely loved and supported by my parents, but my parents worked their asses off when I was going to school. And I went to a Catholic school, so they paid a lot of money for me to go to school. So they were often not present because they were working extra hard to put me through school and to provide for me. And so there's a disconnect. Nobody was really saying to me, Monica, you're an amazing leader. Monica, you can do this. Monica, step up to the plate. You have what it takes. And this is the kind of stuff that our kids need. Our kids need us to be intentional about the messages that we are delivering them about their ability to lead the fucking world, because we need leaders. And if you're watching this, you are the kind of leader that the world needs, because you have a heart that is full of light. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. I would not be resonating with you. I would not be on your frequency. I would just be getting on your fucking nerves and you would leave. So know that your kids are the kids that are needed to run the world. You are the person that is needed to run the world and really to deliberately step into leadership. And so, how do we do this? Aside from conversation, intentional conversation, and energetic support, because energy is huge, how do we do this for our kids? Well, a huge tool that we have is sports, right? BW sports. Where are we right now? This is our jam, right? We want our kids to step into the field of sports because it is so huge in fostering leadership. You think about the level of confidence that is fostered in a child who plays sports and plays it well. And even if they don't play it well, They are getting a higher level of attention, doing a physical activity. Somebody's focused on them. Someone is working with them to help them build a skill. And so, not only on an emotional, psychological level are you boosting them when teaching them a sport, but there is also the physical act of doing a sport and building a personality trait. Ooh, this is delicious. When you put those two things together, this is when miracles happen. You take a physical activity that a kid really, really likes and excels at, and it really builds their confidence, and you plug in a beautiful, dynamic personality trait like leadership. Ooh, boy, watch out. That kid is going to soar. That kid is going to soar. They have to. And so, what happens in the brain is you are creating new neural connections. We talk about this a lot, don't we? We're creating new neural connections, and you're doing it with stealth speed because kids' brains are so neuroplastic. Neuroplastic. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yes, they have a very high degree of neuroplasticity, which means that their brains are so pliable, so movable, that they just pick up things like that, right? You've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. And so, what happens is you create these connections far more quickly. And then, if they have like negative personality traits that have been fostered in the past, as you're creating new neural connections and strengthening those, you're disconnecting the old ones. So, not only are you fostering in them a positive personality trait, you're deconstructing other traits that don't serve them. Isn't that cool? That is so freaking cool. Let me give you an example. So, something that my aunt taught me, she has a master's degree in special education, is something that she learned is that kids who have learning disabilities, you can take a child with a learning disability and you can combine a physical act and an act of knowledge and enhance their ability to learn it very, very vastly. And so, a specific example is if your child struggles with like math facts, something that you can do to help them to really help it click in their brain and create those neural connections is you can do flashcards while they're jumping on a trampoline. Isn't that an awesome idea? So there's something about the physical activity and then the learning, the educational activity. So learning the flashcards, you combine those two and boom, it's like magic. It is like magic. I've seen it. My kids all jumped on a trampoline and learned their flashcards. They learned them like that. It works like a charm. And not only that, you can, for instance, I used to with James when he was learning his sight words. I would take him and we would go outside and whatever sport, like baseball, basketball, anything. We would do a sport, and in between, we would learn sight words. So he'd shoot a basket and I'd show him a sight word. He'd shoot a basket and I'd show him a sight word. Or he'd hit a baseball and I'd show him a sight word. And so you are taking this beautiful, I mean, you're doing so many things here, right? Like you are bonding with your child, you are building knowledge, and you're building a bridge to leadership and doing these awesome things with them. I mean, it is so, so cool when you can combine sports and education. What's up, Dan? What's up? Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, let me refer to my notes because you know I get going on rants and tend to forget sometimes where I'm going with this. Okay, so we talked about, okay, let's go back to traditional education. Okay, so when you've got kids who are sitting in the classroom all day long, and at this point, they're not even seeing each other's faces, right? They are learning and regurgitating. So there's a lack of creativity, and they really are taught to like blend in with the crowd, right? Go get in line. Like, you kidding me? How many times do you remember being in line at school? And then let's talk about like a dress code. I used to think a dress code was great because my kids, I'd just get up and they'd have their uniform and go to school. But there's a lot more to that, like psychologically, being in a uniform. And I used to like poo poo it. Like I was like, that's not a big deal. But really, I don't like uniforms anymore. I don't, because it makes us all the same. Again, it squelches creativity. It squelches creativity. And so I want to tell you that we are all born leaders. You are a leader. I am a leader. Dan is a leader. Everyone is a leader. That is how we are created neurologically. We are leaders. You know why? Because we want to survive. We want to survive. And so our brains are wired into leadership. We are talked out of leadership as we grow. We are born leaders, and then society slowly squelches us, teaches us to blend in, shows us that we should judge ourselves based on something outside of us that really isn't even real, right? You think about all of the airbrushed images. You think about, there's just a lot of fakeness going on, right? And so they teach us to sit back. And then you've got the 1% making all the money, running the world, right? And so I am telling you that one of the greatest gifts that we can give to our children is teaching them to be heart-centered leaders. How do we do that? What does it even mean to be a heart-centered leader? Do you know what it means? What it means is that you're not ruling with an iron fist, because you understand that not everything in life has to be about competition. We can all be leaders. We can all be fucking millionaires together. There's enough to go around. I mean, look at, like, everything is moving to digital currency. Like, dollars don't mean shit. Dollars are losing value every day. If you have dollar bills, it is not an asset. That shit's depreciating, right? So there's enough money to go around. And so as we teach our kids to be heart-centered leaders, that means that this and this are fucking connected. When these two things are connected, this is when you step into the quantum field of infinite possibility. Let me say that again. This is ASMR. The quantum field of infinite possibility. I hate ASMR. My kids like it. It's weird. The quantum field of infinite possibility. Say that 10 times fast, yo. Okay? Because leadership qualities, you know where they vibrate? Way, way up on that emotional scale. Remember, we've got that emotional scale that goes like this. Okay? And your lower vibration shit is down here. Super, it makes you small. And that's why it's at the tip, because it shrinks you. It shrinks your ability to tap into opportunity because your mind literally won't let you see it. But when you're up here in heart-centered leadership, this is where your world opens up for you. This is where your brain will not filter out positive opportunity. It will filter out negative bullshit. Like, this is how the brain works. So what happens is you have what's called the reticular activating system. I know, I'm getting fancy over here. Say that 10 times fast. Okay, and so what happens is this part of your brain intentionally filters out anything that is not in the same emotional level, at the same emotional level or vibrational level, because emotion and vibration, it's really the same. Like, you're either up here in high vibration, positive emotion, or you're down here in low vibration, negative emotion. And so what happens is your brain is like, okay, what am I looking for in life? Am I looking for scarcity? Am I looking for lack? Am I looking for fear? Am I looking for victimhood? Okay. And these are all like, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? The opposite of leaders. Okay. These are all like the followers who are totally stuck in the matrix. They don't want to see what's really going on around them. They don't want to take responsibility for their lives. And so that your brain can process, because your brain can only process so much. We have billions of signals coming in, and most of it comes through our eyes. 80% comes through our eyes. But you have so much information coming into your brain that you have to filter some out. If you don't, you're like going to be fucking seizing all the time because your brain's going to be on overload and then you can't process anything. Okay, so that part of your brain processes these things out, and you only get, are you ready for this? You only get what you're looking for. Isn't that powerful? You will always get out of life exactly what you are looking for. That's power. Either that can be really scary to you or really powerful to you. And the way that it becomes really powerful, you lead yourself. You lead yourself first. It took me almost 40 years. I'm not 40 yet. Dan, I'm not 40 yet. I am a little bit older than you, but not much, bro. It took me, let's say 30, I don't know. It took me a long effing time to really figure out that I am a leader. And so what's the goal here? Don't let your kids forget like I did, right? Like we have the power to remind them, to show them the truth. And the truth is that we are all born leaders, all of us. And we owe that to our kids. And do you know how you show that to your kids? You lead yourself first so that they can then lead themselves first and then lead a team. And then lead at work. And then lead on the stage. Lead everywhere in their life. And it starts with you. It starts with you as a parent, as a coach, as a teacher, as a nurse, as a realtor, whatever your job is. It starts with you, because you cannot lead others until you lead yourself first. And what does that mean? What do you think it means? Like, it means making promises to yourself and not breaking them, right? It means setting goals and being intentional about achieving those. And these are all things that are difficult. But even if you haven't done this your entire life, it's never too late to start, ever. I lied to myself for years. I lied to myself. And look at me now. Like, you may not know what I have going, but I've got some really good shit going. But my world did not respond until I knew within me that I was a leader. The world around me did not shift until I led myself first. Because for years, I would make promises to myself and then I would break promises to myself. And every time you do that, it's a chink in your armor. Every single time. My armor is really chinked up. It's all chinked up. But it doesn't matter. My armor is still beautiful. My armor is still worthy. And now I am a leader. And so this is what I did, is I was like, okay, I want to step into a higher version of myself. And the way that I'm going to do that, I am going to create two things. Number one, if ever I go into negativity, I'm going to pivot like a motherfucker as quick as possible. Pivot. Anytime you start having negative self-talk, you have got to stop it immediately. Have a pattern interrupt, something to halt you that you become very intentional and consistent about, and flip it. So if you're having a rough day and you start talking negatively to yourself, which is really very rare for me because I've created all these new neural connections. Like, I know Monica's a badass, so I'm always telling myself I'm a badass. But if there's any negative self-talk, I will, excuse me, my nose is itching. I will stop and like pivot and like have a mantra, or physically do something to stop myself, smack myself so that my brain associates negative thought with pain. And then you don't want to do that anymore. Sometimes I'll wear a wristband, and if I think negative thoughts, I'll flip the shit out of myself. So again, you associate negativity with pain, and your body doesn't want pain. So then you will untrain yourself from negative talk. And then I was like, okay, what can I institute in my life that is very different than anything I've done in the past to really help me to step in to my leadership? Something that I will be very consistent about and devoted to, and it will be a non-negotiable for me that I will do every single day. So I decided to run, which is hilarious because I remember in high school, I think I ran like 6 miles with a friend of mine. And I was like, I'm never fucking doing that again. I hate, I hate running. I was like in high school, I was like a bud smoker for life is what I said. And like never running. I would never run. I will smoke pot for the rest of my life. And I've totally flipped that. TMI, sharing too much sometimes. Okay, so I'm a runner now. Dude, I am a runner. Like for real. Like I can totally claim that. This is a higher version of myself. I'm not judging the pot smokers. If you smoke pot, I'm totally support it. It's all good. Okay, and the other thing that I do is I meditate every single day. My hair's jacked up. Every single day I meditate. Every day. Those are my two 100% non-negotiables. I run and I meditate. Okay, I'm going to tell you about meditation and how that enhances your leadership qualities. What happens with meditation is that, and you don't have to meditate for a long time, y'all. You can start at like 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And it's not about stopping thought, it's about slowing thought. But what meditation does for you is it increases your brain power, coordination, focus, clarity, ability to keep your cool in tough situations. Like the benefits that meditation has for your mind and body are fucking crazy. Crazy. I'm talking, there are people meditating themselves out of cancer, out of MS, out of ALS, all of these chronic conditions, crazy, crazy chronic conditions that have no cure. People are literally meditating themselves out of these states because that is how powerful the mind is. So if you can stop and meditate for 5 minutes a day, whether it's just silence, counting your breaths, whether it's sitting outside and like listening to the birds, or pulling up a guided meditation on YouTube. YouTube is my best friend. All you have to do is search guided meditation for anxiety or for fear. Whatever you're feeling, search a guided meditation for it. Pull a 5-minute meditation up and meditate. You know what it's going to do? It's going to change every single part of your mind and body. It's going to reduce your blood pressure. If you have heart issues, it's going to improve your heart issues. It's going to improve everything. If you're overweight, it's going to help you to reduce weight. It's going to help you build muscle mass. I'm telling you, meditation is the shit. It is the shit. This is why it's all the rage, why people are talking about it, because it's absolutely amazing and life-changing. So what happens when you meditate is when you go long enough, which you'll get there, you can get there. If I can do it, you can do it. Because I did not have a quiet mind. What happens is you get both sides of your brain to fire like kind of in unison. It's like everything is in flow. Typically what happens is we're either operating from the left brain or the right brain. Okay, so our left brain is highly logical and reasoning. Our right brain is highly creative, right? And so typically people favor one or other of these sides of their brain. And leadership is creative. Like I said earlier, when you are in school, you're using logic, right? Mainstream school typically squelches your creativity and enhances your logic. And what happens when you squelch creativity is you create worker bees. You create kids that are not deep thinkers. Kids that don't want to sit down and really figure out a plan. Kids that don't want to really analyze something on a deep, deep level. And then we have video games. Video games are great, right? But like video games do not help that creative process. And video games also create a flood of dopamine into the brain. And this is why kids become addicted to video games. And it squelches their creativity. and it fucks up their it fucks up their leadership qualities. And just so you know, video game creators actually bring in neurologists to help them construct these games in order to maximize the dopamine rush into kids' brains so that they can literally get them addicted to video games. And look, I'm not judging, dude. My kid's out there playing Fortnite right now. But have you ever noticed that it is very difficult for a child to, we'll tie this to leadership, lead themselves away from a game? That when you ask a kid to stop playing a video game, they raise hell? This is why. Because when they have that massive flood of dopamine going into their brain, and then you try to shut that off immediately, their brains can't process it. Especially little kids, their brains cannot process it. There has to be an ease away from it. Their brains literally can't process it. And so it turns into rage and anger because it's an addiction. It is an addiction. All of those same neurons that are firing when someone is smoking crack or sniffing cocaine or watching porn, right? Like addiction is addiction. Those same neurons are firing when kids are playing video games. And it's very intentional because they want to sell games, right? They want to keep kids coming back for more. So that's like a aside, but it does tie into leadership. Okay, so my overall point here is you're a fucking leader and so is your kid. Okay, you are. And you leading yourself teaches your child to lead themselves. And the way that you lead yourself is by keeping promises to yourself, setting goals and following them through, and fully enlisting your kids in all of that. How much are you communicating with your kids? Like my kids know what I have going on in my business. They know exactly what my steps are. They know what I'm looking for. They know what I'm going for, and they're fully enlisted with me. And so I'm showing them leadership qualities and I'm bonding with them. So we're developing trust between the four of us as well. And know that, you know, what you resist persists. So I'm not going to fight the traditional education system because my kids are within it. And I know a lot of amazing teachers and amazing coaches that are within it. And I honor them and value them. But just because they are taught to be worker bees all day long and memorize and regurgitate does not mean that we cannot foster leadership in our kids. And we can do that through sports. And we can do that at home in our everyday interactions with them. And by really being intentional about the words that we're saying to them and the energy that we're putting toward them, right? To really lift these kids up. Okay. Well, I went on and on and on for 33 minutes. I hope everyone got something valuable out of that. I so value you spending time with me. I would love to see your comments. If there's anything that lit you up or triggered you, dude, tell me. If you got triggered, put fucking hashtag trigger. I love triggering you because you know why? A trigger is a sign to you of shit that you need to work on. I love getting triggered. I know that when I'm looking at someone and they trigger me, I'm like, okay, where's my work? What's the work I need to do in that? And that's a leadership quality, yo. Okay. I love you. Have a freaking amazing night. I'll be back next Tuesday. I'm going to try to be on time. I don't think anybody has any concerts or anything. And it's going to be an amazing week. You know why? Because we're looking for amazing things to happen. We're looking for magic, right? And we know that we get what we look for. Our brain only allows in what we are looking for. This is neuroscience. This is not woo-woo magic. It's neuroscience. So start looking for opportunity, start looking for magic, and start looking for abundance so that you call all of those things into your life. I love you so much. Have an amazing night.